very important that we pay homage and honor those that paved the way and who had the courage to express their pain, emotions, and triumph through the art of hip-hop. We should highlight our culture and the positive influence it has given the world, and the best way to do that is to thank a man like you. You look like us, talk like us, and you were in college doing the best for your well-being and hardly ever cursed in your music. Thank you for the music, the head nods, the metaphors, inspirations at a heightened era, paving the way, and your continued commitments to create the change in our communities. I'd like to thank y'all and welcome Mr. Dupre Kelly, aka Mr. DoItAll from Walton Underground.
Good, Ken. How you, man?
What's going on, bro?
Man, I'm good, man. Blessed. I feel good, man. I'm good.
Definitely, man. We wanted to come in today just to thank you for everything that you're doing, to support you, to highlight you, because you played a major part not only in my life, but anyone who is in between late 20s, their 30s, their 40s, and their 50s, where you did something great in hip-hop. And we want to show our appreciation, not because you were running for council, you want to make a difference, but you're still doing that. Mm-hmm. And we want to show people that you're great in what you're doing, you're a leader to our community, and we need to see more brothers like you. And the best way to do that is to highlight that, to have a conversation, and just thank you for your time, man.
Man, I appreciate it.
Definitely.
First, you want me to turn off the air conditioner for the sound?
Yeah. You do that.
How about that production?
Make my better, my best. You can tell where I'm from, that's a hell of a test. It's Bricks, New Jeru, I say it pounding my chest.
All right, man, so let's jump right into it. When did you realize MCing was for you?
When did I realize MCing was for me? I realized that early in the game. So, my uncle, back in the late 70s, he came home from the Army, and he didn't have a place to live. So, of course, he moved in with us, because my mother is his sister. So he moved in with us, my mother, my stepfather at the time, and he got an extra room, he got the room, and he used to always play this record, man, over and over and over. And the record was called Rapper's Delight, you know, by the Sugar Hill Gang. And this was the first time I ever heard anything like this. You know, he brought it home from the Army, and I used to ask him, what is this? I was about maybe 7 or 8 years old at the time, and I used to ask him, you know, what is this record? And he was just kind of shunning me away. Get out of here, don't touch my record. You know, and I would sneak in his room anyway, play this record, man, and I just fell in love with what I was hearing. And it made, falling in love with that record made me search for more. It made me search for where is this coming from? And then I discovered that it was a whole culture. It was dancing with it, it was fashion with it, it was art with it. You know, it was music, DJing, and it was an MC. So what I did is I fell in love with the culture of hip hop. I still didn't know I wanted to be an MC. I still didn't understand that I wanted to be a rapper, but I wanted to be something that was associated with the culture of hip hop. So I started to break dance. And when I started getting second place and third place and fourth place ribbons and break dancing, I knew that I wasn't that great. You know what I mean? And my penmanship, my regular writing penmanship wasn't the greatest. So when I would try to tag and do, you know, this thing that the graffiti artists from the culture, the artists from the culture of hip hop was calling graffiti, it wasn't really the thing for me. And DJing, you know, all I would do is just scratch up my mom's old records. Well, it wasn't old at the time, but her records, and I knew that that wasn't for me. But one thing I did notice was for me is when I picked up a mic and how I controlled the crowds and how I would be able to bring people together with just my voice. And when I started to add the rap aspect to it, the rhyming to it, I realized, wait a minute, I got something here. Now all I need to do is put it on record, and then that's when the talent shows started happening. That's when the formulation of early groups that I was in, like the True MCs, you know, and the Undercover Rockers, and UCR, and all of these, that's when those type of things started happening. And that was just the training ground for me becoming to what I am to now at MC.
Dope. Did you know you had a hit before it was a hit?
Nah, you know, I think that the people during the time that you live in will determine if you have a hit or not. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I knew that was a hit when I first made it. Yeah, maybe not. But I think that when you're honest with your craft, when you speak with integrity and you speak with what's happening now. Like we talked off camera, and hip hop to me is the now movement. And the reason why I call it the now movement is because when something is hip, it's in the now, it's in the knowing. When you talk about hop, that's a form of movement. So hip hop, you look at it that way, it's the now movement. So it forever stays current. It forever stays youthful, because youth is always current. And I just believe when you're current and you're youthful, you start to talk about what's going on now. That's how you can relate. That's where relative comes in, being relatable. Classics are relatable throughout time, throughout different time periods. That's why they're considered classics. But when you just have a hit, it's for that moment. It's for, so if you're really connected to what's going on in your community, your city, your state, your environment, society at the present time, and you make a record that connects, you might say, oh yeah, I have a hit. And a lot of people nowadays, they yell at and say I have a hit because they can put it out instantly. When I first came out, those big 2-inch reels and the process, you might make a record 6 months ago and it's just coming out, 6 months, 7 months later. So now the time could have changed. So now you might have said, oh, I got a hit, but now it doesn't relate to what's going on now. And so I guess to answer your question, back then we just knew we were making music that people could relate to at the present time. And if enough people related to it, we would have a hit. But nowadays I believe that people, when they make a record, they believe instantly they have a hit because they can put it out instantly and get a reaction. So if it's a record that's going to make the strippers move in a club, they feel like all we gotta do is take it to a strip bar or and put it out right now, and we can determine if we have a hit. So maybe determining a hit now comes a little faster than it did when I came.
Yeah, even with Chief Rocker, because Chief Rocker, when that beat come on,
I mean, yeah, when you're young, that's still one of my favorite records. And when that record came, when we made that record, I said, yo, this is it. This is it. But you say that with every record you're an artist. We got other records that I'm like, yo, this is that joint. I got records in here right now, and I'm like, yo, this is that. And it could be, but it takes to put it out, pull the trigger, so to speak. That's what I tell Redman a lot. He has a lot of music, and I have a lot of music, and I'm telling him, like, yo, we gotta pull the trigger, man.
Yeah, you definitely got some joints, man. Who inspired you as an artist? You mentioned Rappers Delight was your inspiration, but was there like an actual artist that you said, hey, I like his style, I like his flow, maybe let me be different, or what influenced you to create the DoItAll style that you had?
Man, Run DMC. I wanted to be. You know what? It's crazy that you asked me that question because I'm still analyzing myself as an artist. I feel like Laws of Underground, probably to this day, we have estimated around about 4 million fans that still rock with us worldwide, right? I feel like as an artist, and to answer your question, Run was the guy who made me believe that I could be an MC. Not necessarily the best rapper, but made me believe that I could control a crowd like Run from Run DMC. And that was my inspiration. But by obtaining that inspiration, I didn't really worry about my lyrics so much. I worried about what was going to do to capture the crowd. And Jersey people we're lyricists. So I feel like that with all my success that I've had with Laws of the Underground, that's cool, but I still wasn't as honest as I am now. I feel like my experiences weren't as vast as they are now. I feel like that I was a great MC with Laws of the Underground, but now I feel like that in totality, I am a better MC because I am a better lyricist because of my experiences now. So even with all the success, I feel like that I am better now than I was then. And I'm not even really trying to be I guess I'll be an MC forever, But just to answer your question, Run was he's one of the, Run and James Brown.
Well, that's life, man, where you basically, find yourself. You start to develop yourself and know yourself and know, hey, you know, I can still work on myself. And that's how men do. You know, that's how we know how we can become better, by seeing the mistakes that we do and learn from them.
Right.
So that's definitely dope.
That's real talk right there.
Definitely dope, man. Did you ever have an eye-opening experience while on tour?
Many times. Ooh. Many times, man. You don't understand, man. And to this day, still to this day, it's eye-opening experiences. You know, for one, we came in the game, I'm 40s now, you know, so when we came in the game, I was 18 years old. We came into the game, you're doing young men stuff. You're chasing the girls, you're chasing the fame. For me, I was just like, wow, something that we created in our neighborhoods is now universally known, internationally known, and people will do anything just to be around you. You know, money doesn't come with instructions, and power doesn't come with instructions. It usually comes with orders from people who are above you with power, you know, of how to maintain it. So when you give a young guy who comes from nothing, or young guys or girls who come from nothing, you give them money, you give them power, you give them fame, and you give them no instructions, you're really giving them a recipe that can really take them down a long path. And that's because when you come from no money, you have nobody ahead of you to say, look, these are some of the pitfalls. When you come from nothing, you try to get everything when you get something. You know, it's almost it's almost like the sense of when you have nothing and you give somebody just a little bit, and they used to have nothing. When you give them that little bit, to them that's everything. That's everything. So they treat it like, I might not even have this again. And then somebody who's had things before, like, why are they going crazy? That's nothing. Why are they wasting their money? They're spending. But you have to understand the mentality. Even if you let somebody out of jail who's been wrongly accused of something, he's been locked up or she's been locked up for 20 years, you let them out. You have to give them some type of program. You have to give them some type of person to talk to, because they can't deal with that mentally, and they weren't wrong.
Yeah, make it overwhelming, right?
And that's the same thing with a young artist. I believe that young artists are preyed upon when it comes to these businesses, these corporations, because that's just what it is. The business and corporation might disagree, say we don't prey upon them, but they don't teach them either. They don't walk them through and let them know, you know, look, even the NFL and these sports affiliations, the base MLB and NBA, they're starting to do it with their young rookies and their freshmen into the game, because you make these guys instant millionaires that come from nothing. So instantly they say, I'm doing everything. I'm getting this, I'm getting that, I'm doing this, I'm wow out. What you need now you have these corporations say, hold up, now we have classes. And we're only giving you a certain amount this first year so you can get acclimated to being who you are about to become. And hip hop doesn't have that. You know, I don't know even if the music business has that. That's what an A&R is supposed to be, your artist repertoire, but they work for the corporation, they work for the company. So those corporations and companies are there to do the business of those companies. They're not really trying to protect your well-being, they're trying to get the most out of you and then move on to the next. Really, when they should be making they should be protecting their investment, because if they nurture and make this person better, that person is going to stay with you for a longer time and probably make you more money instead of getting a fast buck out of them and moving on to the next artist.
That's right.